Tuk, or Tuk-Tuk, or Tuktirey, Suli Neytiri'ite. But we're just gonna call her Tuk, because that's gonna be a lot easier for me. You can find Tuk in the rainforest, the ocean, in the index at the back of Avatar the Way of Water Visual Dictionary, and so on. Other than having this tendency of being taken hostage at really inconvenient times. Tuk is this bright ball of innocence that's there to lighten the mood during this very bleak and dour war between the humans and the Na'vi. But that's not going to stop her from winning a fight against James Cameron in hand-to-hand combat, or at least stand a chance against the Thanator. Oh, right. I feel like it's a really good time to mention that I recently attended an event that was celebrating the digital release of Avatar the Way of Water, called Avatar the Way of Water, an immersive experience. So we just got invited to Avatar, an immersive experience, and right now we're just gonna immerse ourselves in said experience and see, you know, what's going on. Let's go. Come on. And during my experience of this experience, I was given the opportunity to interview Trinity Jo-Li Bliss, and we're just gonna do a quick interview. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm definitely going to be bringing up footage from this interview throughout this entire video, as I ask Trinity just some really good questions about Tuk that are gonna give us some more insight into her character. Oh, and I had to ask this because, you know, I just wanted to know, what is your favorite animal in Avatar?
Oh my gosh, this is a hard one. Because I love the elu.
Finally, my favorite animal in Avatar, the elu.
But
it's a good one.
The Tulkun, there's something about them that just, they have my whole heart. And when I watched the first one, my dream was to be able to ride an Ikran. So those would be my top three, but probably number one at the moment is Tulkun.
Gotcha.
I'm indecisive.
That's a good choice. Born into the Omaticaya clan in the year 2163, Tuk is the youngest of the Sully children, including the adopted children. If we were to look at all of them from oldest to youngest, it would go Spider, Neteyam, Kiri, Lawak, and then Tuk. Tuk is also the shortest of the Sullys, being only 5'7", or 1.7 meters tall, meaning at the age of 7 years old, she is currently as tall as I am. Her siblings Neteyam, Kiri, and Lawak have gone through Ikini Maya, or Pathway to Heaven, a ceremony where they travel up into the Hallelujah Mountains to tame a mountain banshee, meaning they can all fly their own Ikran, except for Tuk. Tuk is too young to have gone through the rite of passage herself, so she has to ride passenger when they're fleeing the Omaticaya settlement. Spider would have also had to ride passenger because he's a human, but I seriously doubt that Neytiri would not, she would definitely not want Spider to come with them. Tuk is still at the age where she's playing with the Mountain Banshee toy, you know, the thing that we first saw in an activist survival guide. And at this age, she was probably just given the Yimka, or Banshee Catcher, an item to help restrain the violent Banshee by temporarily securing its jaw, giving the Na'vi a better chance at making the bond with the flying death trap. Young Na'vi like Tuk are given this tool to play with from a very young age, like around Tuk's age at 7 years old, so that when Tuk gets older, she's gonna develop the right technique of catching that Banshee. Like her brother Neteyam, Tuk has 3 fingers and 1 thumb. 3 fingers and 1 thumb are typically what Na'vi have. A forest Na'vi like Tuk is going to be different from the oceanic Na'vi, with her lack of paddle-like tail and paddle-like extensions, and overall lacks any paddle-like stuff. So like the rest of her family, she's going to face a lot of judgment, but not as much judgment as someone like Kiri, who has 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Lawak and Kiri have quote-unquote demon blood and are referred to as half-breeds, as they are associated with sky people. So overall, Tuk and her brother Neteyam are seen less as an outcast amongst the reef people, helping explain why Tuk may have a better experience with the Metkayina, as she's not visibly a half-breed, making it so that she's not tied in with the humans. Instead, she's just repeatedly getting tied up by the humans.
You're pulling me tied up again.
Tuk adapted pretty quickly to the reef people's way of life, almost as fast as someone like Kiri, which makes sense. I mean, Tuk's been living between conflicting cultures for her entire life. Even though a bunch of humans from the RDA were allowed to stay on Pandora, there was still rising tensions between the humans and the Na'vi, mainly over their different ways of life, and the humans needing to do stuff like mine resources in order to, I don't know, survive. So Tuk was growing up next to the humans at Hell's Gate, during the time period where the tensions between the humans and Na'vi living at Hell's Gate were absolutely peaking. In fact, when the RDA returned in 2169, most of the humans ended up bailing and rejoining the RDA, as the general offered a once-in-a-lifetime deal, guaranteeing them amnesty if they rejoin. And then in the year 2169, she lived in an even closer proximity with the humans in the Omaticaya stronghold that we know as High Camp. During my interview with Trinity Bliss, I asked her, in her opinion, does she think that Tuk is going to identify more with the Omaticaya or the Metkayina?
Part of her will always have a heart and roots in the Omaticaya. Yeah, I think that she'll always have that connection to the Omaticaya, and that'll always be so much a part of her in her childhood, as well as the Metkayina. That's a whole new culture of learning to live on the water, learning to hold her breath, and having almost a new family with Serea and Aonung and Roto. Yeah, I think both of them will always be a part of her. Also, Norm, that kind of human culture in society. They're Uncle Norm and that kind of thing. It's all these different cultures, and I can relate to Tuk in that way because I come from a mixed race family with different cultures and backgrounds and from my parents, so I supposedly get it.
In my off-the-walls Metkayina Explained video, I talk about the blades of Renala and Tonowari's family. So if you think I'm not going to talk about the blades of the Sully family, you're mistaken. Because the blades are incredibly important tools amongst the Na'vi clans, like all the Na'vi clans. The blade is designed and constructed for the Na'vi at a very young age. Tuk's blade in particular has this leather handle that's dyed purple and woven together by blue string. And this is resembling the distinctive color pattern of a dire horse or pale. You can see her using this blade to defend herself just one time in the Way of Water, and that's when she's on Korish's setup ship. Look at it, it's right here. According to Avatar The Way of Water, the visual dictionary, Tuk has this shoulder strap that's used to carry the blade that we were just talking about, and this strap has a secret pocket that's used for collecting and carrying seeds, pebbles, and or flowers, which is honestly pretty cool. And you know what? Why stop there? Let's keep talking about costume design. The bracelets and bands located all the way over here are some of the first items Omaticaya children are able to weave together themselves. Tuk's forest armband that we see right here has a rainforest flower on it, which represents something. Regardless of what they represent, the trinkets that they rock on these bands or bracelets will most likely get moved to their song chord at some point. Like the rest of her family, Tuk changes her wardrobe to better fit in with the reef people. In The Art of Avatar The Way of Water, costume designer Deborah L. Scott went on to talk about Tuk's costume, saying that Tuk emulates both her sister and her mother in her costumes. And once we're at the reef, we see the influence of Sirea on her costume as well. One can imagine that Kiri and Sirea helped make some of her other costumes for her, as she would love to emulate the older girls. Tuk's braided top is woven from palm tree leaves, and its design is inspired by Pandora's global network of energy. Neytiri was the one to weave together this piece of clothing, but Tuk was definitely there to assist her. After arriving at her new Metkayina home that she hated,
I want to go home.
Jake ended up making her a shell armband that she's seen wearing right here. This ends up replacing her rainforest armband. Tuk is always forcing herself into adventures that her siblings are going on, but being the youngest of the Sullys, siblings like Lawak don't necessarily want her to tag along. The struggles of being the youngest.
I'm also the youngest in my family, so I can relate to Tuk in many ways, but also that one. I also have older siblings, so I relate to her in that way, and I can relate to Tuk's just kind of feeling underestimated by her family, even though they all just want to protect her, and kind of trying to prove to them she can also be, even though she's small, she can also be very mighty.
Tuk has a childlike curiosity when it comes to the world around her, something that's clearly visible right here when she's playing with a mantis orchid, a plant that's named after the green mantises we have back on Earth. A plant that is exclusively pollinated by the species of mantis on Pandora. The two species co-evolved with each other, leading to their striking resemblance, and also allows for the mantis to fit its mouth so precisely into the flower. Kind of like how a poly's tongue evolved perfectly to fit into a leaf pitcher. I wish I had some footage, or at least like a still image of this Pandoran flying insect that they call the mantis, but sadly, dreams just don't come true sometimes. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that Tuk really appreciates nature. This is due to Kiri having a big influence on Tuk. You could say that the two of them have a special bond. Kiri. Needless to say, Tuk looks up to Kiri, which is why she shouts to her specifically when they get captured by Korish in the first part of The Way of Water. In the High Ground comics, Curie takes Tuk under her wing and teaches Tuk how to care for her surroundings, like how to pay respects to the remains of a mountain banshee, observing the decaying animal and how it's getting taken back into the moon by the vines, and explaining to Tuk that it's returning to the Great Mother Ewa. But Tuk also takes after her brother Lawak, as she has a very powerful bite, same as him. Being the only biological daughter of Tuk Sully and Neytiri, Tuk has a very strong relationship with her mother, as Neytiri is at times very protective over Tuk. I had to ask the question of all questions. We know that so much stuff has been cut out of Avatar: The Way of Water. So I wanted to ask Trinity, what's something about Tuk that we as an audience haven't had the opportunity to see yet because it wasn't in the final edit of the film?
I'm trying to think of a specific thing that was cut out. Also, my memory is, since we filmed 2 and 3 simultaneously, my memory is so patched up which is which one from.
But then later in the interview, when Trinity was answering a different question, she remembered this.
Especially Moat, her grandmother is still there who she loves so much. I think she has a connection with her. Oh, that's something that was probably cut out, that she does really have a connection to her grandmother Moat, and they looks up to her as well as her mother.
Based on this interview with Trinity, I think it's safe to make the assumption that Tuk had way more than just a couple scenes with Moat. The original edit of Avatar: The Way of Water probably contained scenes highlighting a very strong relationship between the two of them. It also sounds like Tuk and Norm Spellman shared some actual screen time together as well, especially because Trinity was referring to him as Uncle Norm. Tuk's relationship with Moat is another reason as to why she was wanting to go back to the Omaticai settlement. I'm not saying that Moat's relationship with Tuk is stronger than her relationship with Kiri, but I'm also saying that maybe if Kiri stopped correcting the Sahik of the clan all the time, Moat would just like her just that much more.
But Yarn the Bark is better.
Tuk really did take the whole Sullys stick together thing to heart.
Tuk, wait! Sully stick together!
When asking Trinity Bliss if she thinks that Tuk is the glue that really holds the Sully family together, here's what she had to say.
In some ways, I definitely think that she stands by whatever Jake says, whether it's Sully stick together, and she's gonna keep that in her heart, especially with her siblings, and family is one of the most, probably the most important thing to her.
So going forward, I feel like Tuk is going to be the one to help keep the Sullys together, especially during the rising tensions between Spider and Neytiri. One of my favorite things to learn about is the behind the scenes stuff. So at this point, I was obligated to ask Trinity Bliss what her favorite behind the scenes experience was so far.
So many, just like every day was just the best day ever. One behind the scenes moment that I'll just always remember and think about in future is when Sig came to me. I think we had a really kind of tough emotional scene that day, and I was really nervous for it, and she was also kind of doing her prep, getting into the zone, and she came to me and just made me feel less nervous and more prepared and excited. And I think I'll always remember that, and how those nerves are just another form of excitement. I think the adults, all the adults, and also my younger castmates, everyone on the set was just so fun. We had things like the curse jar. That was me and my co-star Jack. We started it, and it all went to an animal shelter. And every day on set was so fun. Their family, my Avatar family.
I don't know. I guess the point of this video is that we should protect Tuk at all costs. I appreciate 20th Century for the whole experience, and I also appreciate Trinity Jo-Li Bliss for taking the time to do this interview. And just in case you want to follow any of these people, I link their socials down below in the description. And the only reason these character explanations were delayed is because I was still waiting for Avatar: The Way of Water to leave the theaters and then come to digital, which it did. We're good. So I now have footage to use in my videos, because when I was working on the Mech Explain video, that project had like a 30-minute long runtime, and I was using like 3 minutes of footage. Also, you can become a member. I have channel memberships now. That's the thing. If you want to see more videos like this and you want to prevent this channel from crashing and burning like Home Tree, subscribe and become a member, and you'll have way more of a say with what's going on with the channel. Thank you to our one and only channel member right now, Super Dave Gaming. Super Dave Gaming, you are super, because you're helping keep this channel afloat. And that's everything I had to say about Tuk. So, thanks for watching.